We've been kind of big believers in it very early. This is a better type of money, and it's a better type of contract. It's a great way to figure out, solve problems with real estate where you can do that and you remove humans and courts and whatever will back it.
Yeah. What do you think is the role of the public authorities or the governments? And
get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Don't put up roadblocks, regulation, and try and help remove all the roadblocks for entrepreneurship. Right? If you look at the case study of Skype, so you've got a small country with one piece of technology, right, that gets acquired by Microsoft, let's say 18 billion or whatever is in the second thing. Then you have the founders, so they scale to like 10,000 employees. So you got a lot more employees, you got a lot more tax. That's just supporting one company that makes it. Then those founders go on to start another 10 unicorns. It's a ripple effect. That is the benefit of investing in entrepreneurship and innovation. If you come to Draper University and do our flagship program, Hero Training, this is the one that's produced the unicorns for us. And where we're talking about is like week 3 or thereabouts is us getting out of your comfort zone more than ever. And that is the survival week. There's a lot of leadership drills and stuff like that. Build this raft out of wood, get across the river. You gotta work together as a team, you gotta build something, you gotta get there, you're competing against other teams. It's constant belief, or like walk blindfold, and then if you can just do some things are out of your comfort zone that are stretching you, that your peers are doing with you, and then you've got just a little glimmer that you can do a little bit more than what you believe you could, then that opens the door for all types of possibilities.
What's the one thing that you believe that very few people agrees with you on? So maybe also in the last years, it was something that you truly believe it will happen, it will grow, it will, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's maybe a small subsection. Yeah.
Okay.
Crypto, decentralization of everything. Yep.
Why?
Because I've been through, like, I was, somewhat in it, and then like even consulted for a blockchain startup, and I thought it was kind of niche, and then we went through the downturn, and I think before the last bull run, and developers stopped developing. It was like everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin's dead. Just like it goes like up and down, and then like this last time. I was in that Paris blockchain week, consensus, and the energy is just there. It's like, no, you couldn't tell them, even in the bear market last time I was last year I was in Paris blockchain week. I'm like, anyone told these guys like the market's gone to shit? No. Like you could. So it was the one time where the developers didn't stop. And it's kind of this fringe thing, right? Like the people if the developers are there and some of the smartest people in the world are there and they're building even when they don't care what the market's doing. Yeah. Then I'm like,
that's real value then.
Yeah. And you just got like A16Z, Tim Draper, like the Naval Ravikant, like the smartest people just believe this is where it's happening. Yeah. So I'm like, if you're not on board, get on board. I don't think you have to think about it in terms of like gambling or like, I think Chris Dixon says something like a casino mentality or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. It's the technology of the blockchain having trust building is where I believe.
That's actually something that I want us to touch on, because especially in Romania and in Eastern Europe, I saw a lot of young people jumping into crypto, but it was just like
get rich quick thing.
Yeah, getting rich very quickly. That was what attracted them. So that's what created in the whole culture from the more, I don't know, maybe mature entrepreneurs and investor. It was something like, no crypto.
Yeah. I think that every new technology takes a while to get adopted. There's always some sort of scams or whatever. I mean, it's like for me, when I ran the Algorand accelerator, that was the first time I was like, now meeting entrepreneurs from around the world with real use cases. We're trying to back them, like where it changed for me. And there's just some business models cannot exist in Web 2. And so a use case is, commonly used daily, in say developing countries, like payments, right? Like, so if you're in like Nigeria, and it's going to cost you 20% of your salary to send money to the US or something in bank fees or like MoneyGram, whatever, then like it does make sense that Algorand can do it for 0.001 of a cent.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So
what would be like the biggest, I don't know, problem that you think crypto is or will solve in the future?
I think it's just the start. It seems to be with money, it seems to be the first thing, cross-border payments, all that kind of stuff. But I do love the creator stuff.
Okay.
That's my personal thing. Yeah. So there's like IP, there's royalties, there's all types of stuff. There's attribution for like content. And I think that's particularly relevant with, LLMs and AI, right? Because you kind of got like...
So how do you see them connecting?
So this is interesting because now we're working with Stellar, and that's big thematics for them. AI meets blockchain.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's definitely like, well, all right, you go to ChatGPT and create a blog post. You're using somebody else's content to create your content. All of it starts to get kind of like
fuzzy.
Yeah, it's not in terms of just like who created what and who owns what. That's part of it. Part of it is like it's not quite factual. Then it's less factual. Then it's like I'm now training the AI on a regurgitated content from something else, right? So it's like it's just going to get more and more shit. I don't know if you can you're going to have to beat this out. But yeah, so like, all right, well, the crypto bit, in my opinion, is like, well, it's attribution. So it's like, all right, well, if I'm taking part of your design, even if it's a little bit, right, and then I'm making money off it.
Nice.
Right? So even if I've got the ChatGPT premium account, right, and I'm somewhat, ChatGPT, OpenAI scraped this one and Redbubble and Behance. They're getting it from somewhere, right? And there's a little fraction of and artists are saying this, that is my art. Sometimes they don't do a great job of like covering it, right? Masking it. And you make money from it. Blockchain allows me to maybe, say that you were the original creator, and similar to like NFT marketplaces, if I'm going to make $100, maybe $10 goes to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you can just kind of follow the trend.
Yeah, because that was the problem with the creative industry in many sub-industries. For example, I know a bit about the music.
Yeah.
There were just the big guys that took like, I don't know, maybe 80% of the value in the market.
Yeah.
And the actual creator was just like bites of it.
I don't think that's like the big stuff's going to go away. You're always
but a bit of balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's got to happen, right? Because it's kind of like that's the global democratization of everything. Or decentralization. But it's like, you're always going to want, I think I'm always going to want to pay if you can give me an extra million eyeballs on it, right? There's a distribution bit.
Yep.
But if you've already got your audience, then just monetize directly and,
What do you think about crypto and the public space, like public administration? And I know there were some trials with making some coins that were like, I don't know, it was some country in, I think, Central America that tried to have like...
I think they're still doing it. Excuse me. Like El Salvador and all that.
El Salvador, yeah.
Yeah, I think they will get Bitcoin. They'll probably get Tim to back it.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. Yeah. I think if you have to carry like, a wheelbarrow full of cash to get your bread, like you got a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And how about all the blockchain infrastructure because you said decentralizing and all, I don't know, maybe even as a national level, different things that can be implemented in
Yeah, you got like voting and stuff like that. Definitely.
Yeah, maybe not voting for the president, but maybe micro communities where you, I don't know, vote for what types of trees would you like on the street or something like that. Or I don't know, how do you see this developing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like there's a line, right? Like I don't think everyone's equal. Yeah, you do need some experts that like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't need everyone doing a vote on how to do my brain surgery. Just leave it to the doctors.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But But yeah, you have some community benefit and then also some transparency around, where's the money going, whatever. Like, I think there's a bit of accountability there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get stuck too much on crypto, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of use cases. Yeah, and then they're yet to be figured out. We're just very early.
I think that's the thing that stopped crypto a couple of times to like boom and stay there. It was this like the potential of the use cases they presented. Yeah, and then
it's adoption.
Yeah,
you got a lot of friction there. It's hard to set up a wallet. Yeah, it's hard to make a transaction. I'm out of money. I need to figure out how to get more Ethereum in. It's like not normal people just can't do it.
Yeah.
So you got the friction you need to remove, which is happening. Then you've got to somehow, I think, decouple a lot of the use cases with the financial part of it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's also like, it's just learning, right? So it's also like big brands jump into NFTs, right, or whatever. Like, originally it was like, all right, well, if I charge $100 for the NFT to put you in the community, I'm expected to service you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like with parties and stuff. Like, no, you can't. So I think it's like, but this is all learning, unless it's Bored Apes and the market's going up where as people are selling it and you get the royalties and you can afford to have parties or whatever and keep the community engaged, then it's not practical. But this is all learning. Yeah.
Do you think that at some point crypto will completely replace regular currencies? Traditional currencies?
I don't think the government will let that happen. I don't know. Yeah.
Because that was my basically follow-up question. What do we do with banks then?
I think banks are becoming less and less relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's basic.
Would they let us have them becoming irrelevant?
Well, this is why it becomes political, because it's like governments need to control us,
and they are doing it through the banks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they don't have the bank, I mean, if the banks become irrelevant for the population, the government can't control anymore what we are doing with our money.
Yeah, this is like. I'm the least relevant guy to talk about.
It's just brainstorming here.
I mean, it's kind of like, I think Tim would say like there should be an option for private services for pretty much everything. That's the decentralized bit, right?
Yeah.
It's like I should choose. Like, imagine the tax that we just put out, and then like public just wastes it.
Yep.
On massive infrastructure projects that they're giving to their buddies and PwC audits and shit that are just over the top. Like, I mean, I just heard recently that like I didn't know that Donald Trump had. I'm not a big fan, but chose not to use the FBI or whatever. Not the FBI. It's like one of the. He used private contractors to get like for his to get secrets and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Fuck, I'm gonna be like monitored now. I can already feel my phone is getting warm. But yeah. So like, and then you could just get the job done quicker.
Yeah.
Privately, just get a few Navy SEALs that are ex Navy SEALs to go do the job.
Yeah.
And it's cost nothing compared to using the CIA.
Yeah. So
there should be a private alternative, right? It was like in Paris. This is no more clear in Paris when we were in Paris Blockchain Week. There was streets where they paid privately to have their garbage removed, and then the public. This was when they went on strike. So that's just garbage everywhere on those streets. Then you'd go to this bit, completely clean, because they just paid private people.
To
pick up the garbage. Yeah.
I mean, that's also a problem I have with my friends in the private sector, because more and more, it got reversed. I mean, we more and more expect from the public to do that and that and that. And that's just giving more power to the public sector. I mean, the public sector should be the servant of the.
Well, that's the thing. We've lost sight of that. Just being compliant. I'm from Melbourne.
Yeah.
COVID more than ever. Like, sorry, boss. You know, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're meant to be working for us. We've all figured.
COVID was,
Yeah.
man, that was a social experiment.
I took the vaccines like an idiot. I'm very upset. I'm very upset about it now. But I did want to go to the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah. It was pretty. I mean, yeah, maybe not that strict as in Melbourne in Romania. I mean in bigger cities, because for example, we were locked. I mean, me and my wife were locked in our apartment for like 3 months.
Yeah,
and I had friends like 20 kilometers from Oradea, and they were like, "Man,
good. Yeah,
it's nothing."
Yeah, yeah. But you had to stick it out. I mean, we had people that like they go, "Oh, I'm gonna go move to the country," and then like after it was over, like, "Shit, why did we do that?" Wish I was back in the city. Yeah. Anyway, give me a different subject, man.
You don't like crypto, man?
I love crypto. Yeah.
Then?
Sorry, we're getting into public politics and stuff.
Yeah. Let's go back at it. So, you told me that Draper also is pretty much invested into crypto. So, what's the strategy there? What do you back startups? How do you back startups? How do you help startups in this sector?
Yeah, I think it originally just started with like the belief that this is a better type of money, right? Money should be digital, should peer-to-peer. We shouldn't get intermediaries involved. Sometimes there's lots, right? You think about like an international transaction, right? I'm paying my bank, then it goes over to their bank, then they're paying their bank. Everyone's taking a clip, right? So it makes sense, right? So you're gonna
a lot of intermediate.
Yeah, and also that like we don't really own the money, right? Like you don't own the money. The bank's keeping the money and then lending it 10 times out or whatever. So I get that, and then that becomes like, all right. And then if you've got this bit where, open ledger, I don't need to believe the bank that or like, Cyprus a few years back, they were like, bank would just reach in, take your money.
Yeah.
You'd go to check your bank account and there was nothing in there.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of trust in these third parties. And so I get the rationale behind it. And then if you can then go, all right, then it became contracts. All right, well, maybe if the contract's decentralized, right? So I don't have to believe what everyone can just tell me that we both what was said on the contract. Then it becomes the contract. Then you're like, well, what else can we tokenize, right? So I think then it's like, if you believe it's going that way, then you're looking at use cases that kind of you can adopt that can be the first to solve problems where the blockchain takes care of the trust bit, right? And where you can do that and you remove humans and courts and whatever, then we'll back it, I guess. Like there was a really great one from the conference around crowdfunding films and stuff like that. Like there's just things that'll pop up where not only crowdfunding the film, because that was the your Kickstarter, which was Innovation Web 2, is now like, if I back it, right, and I tokenize my investment, then I should get some reward if the movie goes through the roof. Yeah. So that's really cool.
Nice.
And it's easy to keep track on that. Maybe you could do it with Web 2. I don't know. I think it seems easier with because there's an ownership kind of bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been kind of big believers in it very early. This is a better type of money, and then it's a better type of contract. Then it's a great way to solve problems with real estate, whatever you can kind of assets. Again, I'm not a finance guy. It's just weird that they invited me to speak at the FinTech conference. But then you're like, yeah, what if you believe that that's the way the world's going? Then what else kind of and that's the base infrastructure for what's to come. Then you've got scope for the decentralized TikTok, the decentralized Netflix, the decentralized YouTube, whatever, right? So we can start to back lots of startups in that we believe are going to create the future. Yeah, but it's not just crypto; it's everything. We do everything. Yeah.
Tell us that story with Draper and Bitcoin.
The Draper Bitcoin story. So I was on a call, I think, with the Philippines government, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Tim Draper is very famous in in the Philippines because he predicted a Bitcoin going to 10,000. And so it was at the time, Bitcoin was at like $100 or something like that.
Wow.
And pretty much Tim Draper said it will be at 10,000 by around this date. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like pretty too much to the day. People were like, no way, it's going up 1,000% or something like that. Yeah. And so currently also it's like it's going to go to 250K by June or something. That one's changed a bit, but he couldn't predict FTX. You can find videos, but his next prediction is like I think around middle of next year will be at 250,000 per Bitcoin. So maybe it's somewhat that he wants it to be there. I don't know, but if you have a limited supply over time, it will.
Yeah,
you know, you got big ETFs and all this stuff happening now anyway. So like, the market's catching up. So there's that story, and then the second story is the big one. Is my favorite investment story I've heard. Is short Tesla. So he was in Tesla and Skype, SpaceX, Twitch. 30, 40 unicorns plus.
You told me that he was in Tesla before Elon Musk or something?
He was in Tesla before Elon Musk.
Oh my God.
So Tesla, Elon Musk is not the founder of Tesla.
Yeah.
There's another guy. I don't know his name. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah. But that is kind of, there hadn't been a new car manufacturer in the US for, 50 years or whatever. So Tim was like, this is interesting, And anyway, so the crypto story, so the Tesla story, right? So you probably, as venture capitalist, you get like 1,000x, by the time it gets to IPO, yeah. So that's probably like you put $1 million in, it's $1 billion. Wow. Is that right? Is my math? Yep. Yeah. Tired, man. But my favorite story is the Bitcoin story. So, and this is kind of pushed by Adam Draper, right? So I would say if you look at the history of the Draper family, you got like, all right, Tim's grandfather essentially starts venture capital. Just think about that for a second, right? Silicon Valley is...
I want us to get more into that a bit.
Okay. So I'll kind of skip that bit, but I'll say that he's kind of attributed with starting the first Silicon Valley fund. Tim Draper would be the first to take VC global with the Draper Venture Network. And I'd say Adam is the first to go all in on crypto, right? Tim gets credit, so some of the credit because he would have had more cash at the time, but it would be Adam Draper that was like seed stage Coinbase, pushing dad on the Bitcoin acquisition. So Tim Draper wears a Bitcoin tie, and rightly so, because in 2017 or thereabouts, the US captured the founder of Silk Road, illicit market, like they were selling guns, drugs, whatever. Like, man, this phone is getting hot, man. I'm like, they're gonna be.
You'll have some troubles next time trying
to throw my SIM card in the ocean. The US, they capture the guy from Silk Road. He's selling guns, drugs, using Bitcoin or whatever. Which is all traceable, by the way, right? This is the beauty of blockchain. People think it's like you can just hide stuff, but you can do the audit pretty well. Anyway, so they capture the guy. It's like I think there's a movie about it, but it's kind of, if not, we want to do a movie about it. I've got some Hollywood guys. I'm working on this right now. I actually wrote a 2-page script, like treatment myself. Right? I want to see this happen. I want Hugh Jackman to play Tim Draper and grow his eyebrows out. It's true. It's got big eyebrows. And so then we could do it. We can't have Tim Draper playing himself. It has to be Hugh Jackman. So
nice.
It's going to cost $20 million.
We'll send the recording to him.
Yeah, send it to Hugh. Get his head around. So the government captures the guy. There's a SWAT team or whatever. They have to get in before he closes the lid on the laptop. If he closes the lid on the laptop, this is the beginning of the movie to me. Yeah, SWAT team trying to capture this hacker. Right?
The lid goes down.
Yeah, if he gets the lid down, they're screwed, encrypted. Everything's gone, mate. He's laughing at him, fingers. That'd be so great. Anyway, they capture him. They get him. They get the laptop. They confiscate 30,000 bitcoins. 30,000. Wow. Yeah, it's 30,000. The U.S. Marshals doesn't know what to do with this, right? For sure, right? So they and this is why this is random, but they're going to try and profit off it, of course, right? If they just held on to it, we didn't know what to do with it, they would have been looking pretty good. Anyway, so they put it into 4 tranches, and the U.S. Marshals put them on auction. Tim Draper famously bids on not about 19 million US. That's the 19 million US on the 4 tranches.
For the whole 4.
He took to take all 4, the whole 30,000, and he wins.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big bet, right? It's a big bet.
God.
And so that's worth over 2 billion in today's value, thereabouts. Yeah. It's nuts. Yeah. That's one investment.
And that's what's interesting, because it's not, again, and maybe we can go now a bit in the history of the Draper family and how they started everything. Because, if it would have been just this bet, it was, okay, luck.
Yeah.
But again, all the companies that they have backed in the last, I don't know how many years.
Yeah. Generations.
Shows that those guys know something that we don't.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, I think, the problem with like a lot of these kind of maybe public funds or these kind of funds with, bankers and all this stuff in that are like managing venture capital fund. Yeah. Okay. It's a financial kind of instrument or, vehicle, right? Whatever. But you can't have people that are uptight, data crunching, risk averse people running venture funds.
Yeah.
Right. You have, essentially, Tim Draper's grandfather starts the first venture capital fund in Silicon Valley.
That was back
50s.
50s, okay.
Yeah. There was something similar in New York.
Okay.
So we always said essentially starts venture capital because venture capital didn't take off in New York. Same reason, bankers and shit.
Wasn't the Sequoia guy also started back then?
It was around the same time.
Yeah, okay.
But you'll say like, we say it's definitely Bill Draper Senior.
Okay.
And then you've got, but it's mainly Tim's father that gets the credit for like.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think the first one was actually the grandfather.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I'm going to screw it up a little bit.
And what was their background? Just
send any complaints to Make It All Radio team. Yeah.
So what was their background, like the grandfather's background? What was he?
I think he was military.
Okay.
And he was I think he was given some big role by the government post World War II.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so they've been very successful for years. It's gone on for years. And then the grandfather was also like a venture capitalist, and then Ronald Reagan put him in charge of the Export-Import Bank of
Wow.
And he was also the administrator for the UN. Like he was like in there, mate. He was doing stuff.
Wow.
And I think that was partly because I'm guessing it was because he was good with making money.
So this was Bill.
Yeah. Bill Draper.
Bill
I think
Draper.
it's even the dad's Bill Draper Senior or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Surprised Tim's not Bill.
Okay.
Bill the third. But yeah.
And then
So his dad was like they would go up and down Sand Hill Road trying to find inventors and stuff like that, and they created this new category of adventure capital or something it was called, and then it became venture capital. And they would back inventors and stuff. And I think they were in the defibrillator and was the first big one or something.
Wow.
Just in crazy kind of stuff and chips and stuff. And then that became the Silicon Valley. If you look at it today, it's like Google, Facebook, whatever. Like Meta, Meta's Facebook. But so Hewlett Packard was a big part of the history and all that. But then it started just attracting talent. But yeah, if you talk to the Bill Draper bit, it's like they started these big bets on inventors, and they were making so much money. One of the stories I heard that was in the New York and the Rockefellers or whatever, they would come over and just be like, "How are you doing it over here in California?" And started sending trucks of cash.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's no digital transfers.
Yeah.
So they were just literally armored vehicles full of cash. Yeah.
And What came afterwards? So how was Draper? I know the whole Draper. I know university and funds and everything started.
So you've got then Bill Draper, very successful in venture capital, obviously tied with like UN, global, entrepreneurship, capitalism, whatever. And you got Tim Draper, has to make his kind of mark, I guess. I think he took a loan. He didn't take it from dad or whatever. He wanted to do it by himself. I think he screwed up the first fund or whatever. Anyway, he bets a few startups in his own way. Starts Draper, DFJ. I don't know, Jervison. I don't know. It's Fisher Jervison, something like that. Which is probably one of the most renowned funds of all time. That they were in. That was Skype, Tesla, or something. Wow. And then I think I'm going to screw up the names, man. It's terrible. But yeah, Jervison then joins the board of Tesla. He's got a fund now, but he hasn't done much since. I can see where Tim's just stayed in venture capital, subsequent funds. I think Tim then breaks off with having all the partners. Essentially, Draper Associates was also one of the most successful funds. Is just basically his family office. Yeah. So we'll have governments and big investors that trust his decision making, and which remains pretty similar, right? It's like, but the Tim's dad was the one that created the general partner, limited partner model. Every VC uses that still today. They were deep into the, I think getting rid of the CEO and putting in consultants and stuff. That's what his dad would do like that. They were into getting the right team for different stages. And I think that changed over time in Silicon Valley, where it became more like founder centric. And I think it was like, Larry Page and the Google guys were then like, fuck you, venture capital, like you're going to do it on our terms. And then I think there was a few like that where it changed, where then they were getting better terms. And so I did hear this already yesterday, with some Romanian angels taking like way too much. Yeah.
And screwing up the cap table and everything.
Yeah. I think that's not a long-term perspective.
Yeah.
Right. I think Drapers were always pretty good, but it became to where now it's like, there's a you wouldn't give more than 10% or something in the first, all that kind of stuff. So that's just I guess advice for entrepreneurs everywhere. Like, don't let an angel investor take 50% of your company at the beginning. No one else will invest.
Yeah.
So you better get it right.
Yeah.
I don't know where you want me to keep going. So then, Tim, famously.
What's Draper doing now with the programs, with everything?
So then, at some point, you got. So Tim's perspective on like international entrepreneurship is super interesting, because a lot of US investors were and still are US centric, right? So like he was a big believer that entrepreneurship could be anywhere. That's what I kind of attributed with taking venture capital global. He had he created the network of funds. It was then Draper Spree, now Molten Ventures. Some when they get too big, they leave, like Molten Ventures, for example. But then you've got like still today, the Draper Venture Network is thriving. There's like 24, 26 funds around the world. Deal flow and having partners that know the location. But so he was the first US investor into Skype, and it's pretty remarkable, right? Small piece of technology in Tallinn, in Estonia. So that's pretty good foresight, right?
They invested in
seed stage thereabouts. Yeah. So imagine would have been more than a few people. Then same seed stage Baidu in China. Yeah. It's the first US investor there. So he's always been, the best entrepreneurs could be anywhere. And then the crypto bit, is kind of Adam and Tim, where you've got like, hey, all right, this is a better kind of money than, Brian Armstrong come in from Coinbase many years ago saying, well, we need a way to kind of, an exchange. And they were in the seed stage, $100 billion IPO.
Yeah.
Huge. Adam Draper was first check in. Tim would have been not far behind. So that's a really the success continues. And then so at some point through multiple exits or whatever, he acquires the Benjamin Franklin Hotel in downtown San Mateo, which is like a landmark. The locals will talk about Benjamin Franklin. Goes through the probably a tough process of making that Draper University. So it's like it's a trophy for sure, right? But it's like, we're the only ones with a residency that runs programs like that in Silicon Valley. Because there's not that many hotels.
But it's not a university.
It's not a university. You will not get a degree, but you might get a check. Yeah.
Very good comparison here.
Yeah. Entrepreneurial. So that was his idea is like, entrepreneurship taught by entrepreneurs, a lot of blockchain stuff. We were teaching blockchain 3 years before Stanford.
Wow.
So there's kind of future tech kind of stuff and then mixed with experiential learning. So he's always been a big advocate for like, mindset, and that being a big, the belief in doing something big, is half of the problem,
How do you define, or whatever, Draper, how do you define big, or how?
$100 billion. I think that's the latest. Yeah. Just fucking big, man. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of Silicon Valley too, right? It's kind of like for you to come. So in Australia, right? If I go to an angel investor, say I'm going to build a $10 billion company, and this is what they might laugh me out the room, right? There's not a lot of people that would go, yeah, that's great, even if you think they're nuts, right, or whatever. So like I think that's the part of the beauty of Silicon Valley. It's like, all right, nothing's too crazy. I did see a meme or whatever on Instagram the other day where there's a, Irish comedian going, Ireland, they'll be like, in America, be like, I'm going to colonize Mars. I'm like, yeah, man, you can do it, man. Whereas like if you're in Ireland, he said, I'm going to go colonize Mars. Like, don't be a dick. It's true, right? And then so I think how do you foster like the mindset that believes you can just run through that wall? Right, it's like so. A big part of our programs, which is like globally unique, is this experiential stuff. So it could be like it's challenging the founder. So typically, this would happen. I came from Startup Bootcamp. Is a lot of pitch practice, right? So you got a lot of technical founders that are quite shy. They like to code. That's what they feel comfortable with. You need to, if you can get a technical founder, also think commercially, think about business, and you got a pretty good chance of like they got a much better chance of being entrepreneurs. So you can encourage that by pitch practice. I get you on stage all the time. That helps break this thing. We kind of take it further. Yeah. And so it's, impromptu comedy improv or something, right? Or like the pitch practice, or sometimes we'll have them selling condoms on the streets of San Francisco. Yeah. Provided by, alumni. We've invested in a femtech startup that does high quality condoms that are preferred by women. Yeah, it's true. It's all true. Yeah, or Survival Week. So we'll send you to.
Yeah, that's. Maybe you can tell us a couple of words about that crazy week.
Yeah. So if you come to
pitch some of the founders.
Yeah, if you come to Draper University and do our flagship program, Hero Training, this is the one that's produced the unicorns for us. And where we're talking about is like what week 3 or thereabouts is us getting out of your comfort zone more than ever. And that is the survival week. And so survival week, after we have you do like a treasure hunt around the city and walk about 10 miles, so you're already tired, we'll put you on a bus and we'll take you to a farm with Navy SEALs for the next week. Yep. And there you cannot make this stuff up. Rock Ryder, our Navy SEAL, head of our ex-Navy SEAL, will run you through it. Yep. But it's toned down. No one will die.
And what's the purpose of this week? Like what's teaching people?
There's a lot of leadership drills and stuff like that. So it's like, build this raft out of wood, get across get across the river. You got to work together as a team. You got to build something. You got to get there. You're competing against other teams. So it's cohort stuff. It's belief. It's constant belief, or like walk blindfold. I don't know. I don't know. They do all types of crazy stuff. I think there's a lot of mindfulness and stuff as well. I think Rock Rider, our Navy SEAL, would like to push more on that for our enterprise clients. We will not have you doing push-ups all the time. It's going to be mindfulness and transformative. It is transformative because it's like you go in with one set of expectations and what you think you're capable of. And then if you can just do some things are out of your comfort zone that are stretching you, that your peers are doing with you, and you've got just a little glimmer that you can do a little bit more than what you believed you could, then that opens the door for all types of possibilities, right? And so they come back and they go, that has direct correlations to entrepreneurship. Yeah.
What are some of the traits of the great founders that you worked with?
I think they got the big vision. They got a means to execute that vision, right? Some domain expertise. They're missionaries, not mercenaries, is what Tim Draper will say. It's like, this is their life, right? It doesn't matter whether they fail this time, they'll come back and they're going to figure it out, right? So we back missionaries, not mercenaries. I think that's a great way that he says it. And the last bit is be the cockroach. That's Adam Draper's thing for the Boost VC. Cockroaches never die. So it's resilience. So that's also a reason we do Survival Week.
Yeah, so that's the survival mindset of the founders.
There is always another way. Yeah. The giving up is just you. Yeah. So, yeah, I like that. Be the cockroach. Doesn't matter. Nuclear war, they're still running around.
Nice. Tell us a bit about the Sci-Fi thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, recently, and like I've kind of, again, this is just from being at Draper U, is if you go... So if you look at the kind of the success of all the startups we've had across the funds, Tim will say they were all in the other category, right? They couldn't really define them, right? But they were bold, audacious stuff, like the telephone over the video calls with Skype, or like the flying cars or colonizing Mars or whatever, right? Like electric vehicles, so we used to say deep tech. That is the through line in our opinion. It's like founders with such bold vision that there is nothing comparable sometimes on the market, or it's a 10x or 100x better than what's on the market. And so if you're that far in the future and you're creating the future, it's like Hollywood does it all the time, right? A lot of innovation from people just putting these movies out. Anyway, it's kind of far-fetched, right, to a point. So then it's like, well, Adam Draper started classifying deep tech as maybe science fiction, because sometimes it does look like science fiction when they come in. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna colonize Mars. It's science fiction. It's a lot of steps, but it is what we found is if you look at you cannot think as a founder incrementally, right? So there's the power law and all this, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So technology is going like that. It's not that the VCs want it to go like that. That's what we want. So if you reverse engineer just the curve of the technology, if you're just thinking about incremental improvement, the technology will surpass it, right? So you need to be thinking this way. So now they got like data points. The people that back deep tech now was the best investment from any venture capitalist. So everyone's talking about deep tech now.
Yeah, in Europe also.
Yeah, but it's like, we've always done that. Yeah, and it's like, but that is a founder with a big mission, is not competing with anyone. Yeah.
You see, that's one of the problems that we have in the region. Is like, maybe you have that 1-2 founders between, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000 that have this sci-fi sort of idea or vision or so on. But the problem is that it's close to impossible to convince someone to invest in such a vision.
It's not. That's limited thinking too. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got, all right, well, you can always then just go, if you've got the big vision, then you just have to reverse engineer it a little bit, right? To where
And
year
bring
one,
it-
this is how I make money.
And bring it more
Yeah.
closer to those guys. Okay.
Yeah. And maybe, if they're conservative, maybe you don't give away that vision. I mean, I don't think you should try and diminish your shine, right? I think you've got this big vision. If you look at where does the best talent go, we're talking about this too, the best talent goes to Tesla, to whatever, Google, whatever.
NVIDIA, the biggest.
Yeah, well, that too, right? Because it's like, there's a big, bold mission. They want to be part of the change in the future. It's going to be a lot harder to attract talent to, we're building a new CRM with some more features, right? Or true, right?
Or rather
Yeah.
SaaS with, I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, like my colleague Sufyan Malik, who's who's on its ops, he'll say that SaaS has no moat anymore, right? So another reason you got to be thinking 10x, 100x. So this is not hard to do, right? Any founder can listen, just go, you can challenge them all the time. Right? They don't have to necessarily come back with it, but you go, they pitch you, they're in the cohort. Today's exercise guide, what would this look like if it was 10x bigger? Great, can I come back? What would it look like if it was 100x bigger? Then they'll just, at least they get the freedom to go into a different territory.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be much more exciting, much more lucrative. So he would say that there's no moat for SaaS anymore. And I think he's probably 100% on, because if I can then now go to Chat GPT and put in, particularly if I was a technical person, and put in the right prompts to just get the code that can rip off anything that's on the market, then it's just a matter of execution, right? Like, yeah.
And the guy from NVIDIA, he actually said this. I saw the video a couple of days ago. He said like the biggest innovation that they did with, they with the infrastructure and then all the other LLMs, OpenAI and so on, is basically getting rid of this layer of communication between the person that wants to do something, wants to tell the machine to do something, and they don't know the language.
Yep.
And there were the software engineers.
Yeah.
And he said this is like the biggest achievement the LLMs and the AI has right now.
Yep.
It's like getting rid of that and having the we as kind of regular users prompting the machine on what we want, and that's getting better and better.
Absolutely. So then, what's the moat around SaaS then? Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think it'll go because I can just spin it up in a prompt.
You travel a lot between continents, and I don't know, talking with a lot of countries, governments.
Definitely recently. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you map, like how are things going in, I don't know, Europe versus US, Asia?
Yeah, I mean, I think another kind of successful. So first, Eastern Europe's got a lot of advantages, right? In Central Europe, like it's like the founders in Romania and the founders in Poland are hungry, right? They're hungry. They want to like achieve. They're hustlers. Yeah, I think you're losing a little bit of that with like Western countries. I think for the most part, we would say that we back immigrants more than locals. You know. So I think it's that if you have all the these luxuries your whole life, how can you be hungry anymore? I don't know. So you've got your advantages. I just think there's a lot of the common thing I see, particularly locally, and the way I talk about all the time is the mindset bit, because it's kind of like no shortage of technical founders, like I said in Poland, plenty of engineers. So why isn't there 10 times more unicorns? It's that the belief that they can conquer the world. And that's a big thing, yeah. So if you're just like, nah, no chance, like subconsciously or whatever, then you're done.
Yeah. And not just subconsciously, but a lot of people around you telling that.
Well, exactly. Why would you go to America? Why would you risk it? And then I think we had this round table yesterday. It was like the thing is like big markets. Sometimes like Poland's a big market, so they're not. Whereas you like New Zealand or whatever, some of these smaller markets, as it works to their advantage because they're like there's not enough market here. So I naturally have to think globally from day one. So I can't remember your question anymore, but I'm saying good stuff anyway.
So maybe I know which.
The differences
between the big regions.
I think the mindset of Americans. I call it American bravado. Is still it's an advantage, right? So you might go, it's all this kind of American crap where it's like
fake it till you make it.
Yeah, whatever. Pick your mantra, but to a degree, if without the belief, I don't think you can get anywhere. Yeah, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
So you can call it what you want, or you can just sit in your own. But it's really, for the most part, I think people that disagree with some of that philosophy is people that are just content, or they're ready just to take a shot at the people that made it,
Yeah, and I think one of the components also here is that even if some have the belief that they could do it, they don't believe that like the environment, the system is built in such a way that
that's true.
Let them, but it's like, it's
that you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not hard for you to foster that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to just start picking up on people when they're trying to poo-poo other people's ideas, man. It's like, you don't have to agree with it.
Yeah.
But don't try and... It's hard, right? Because you're trying to be helpful as a, startup community people. You want to put them in the right path.
Yeah.
That's definitely not going to work. But yeah, I mean, you just have to be careful about when you're trying to screw with people's dreams. You just, it's not for me. Yeah, but best of luck. Yeah. But that's I think the environment, creating the right environment. As long as you got your own cohort where you've just got at least a few people that are like, yep, let's do it. Then you're going on the right path. And then just put anyone that's saying no in timeout.
For any community, maybe, or people that I don't know, maybe hear this episode and nothing is happening in their region. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend them? How to
You're
start? You're
probably the problem. No. What do I recommend?
Yeah, how to start this.
It's maybe a little bit of travel. I don't know. Maybe it's just seeing, getting some other perspective. It could be virtual. Invite people from other ecosystems to talk, right? Or whatever. Inject a different perspective.
Very nicely said. Inject a different perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
All you need, it's kind of like that survival week bit. You just need a little bit of because we all set in our ways. I'm probably the same, right? There's certain things where I'm just going to always sit in that same seat or whatever. It's not until you get challenged or you get out of your comfort zone that you're like, I'm capable of more. Yeah. It's inject a different perspective.
Yeah, because that's the first thing that you need to do. It's to change the cultural perspective.
Well, this was the Estonia bit, right? So I actually spoke to one of the founders of Ready Player Me for my podcast, and he was like, after Skype did it, then it was
everyone
believed it at least could be done.
Yeah.
And then what happened was they were just attracting so many great engineers and all that. So now locally, and I did see some other guy that was from Estonia. He had a Skype. MyFundo. I'll shout out to MyFundo. I think it was a great startup from that was pitching yesterday.
Yeah.
They said now they got Skype on the board. So now you've got a lot of great technical talent, people that scaled businesses globally, all that in Estonia.
Yeah.
Great engineers, because then they had to work with other, they had to, same with Canberra and Sydney, whatever. They're now they've got now the skills that they can give it back, pay it for, whatever. But yeah, it becomes a beacon for it can be done from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe that's even just if you get some Skype people on a podcast in your community, because then you've at least got some it can be done. And if you just believe that bit, then it opens doors. Yeah.
What do you think is the role of the public authorities or the governments and
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
They've got to they want to support and don't put up roadblocks, regulation, and try and help remove all the roadblocks for entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Remove the friction.
Yeah. The best do it. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
How do we foster more like this desire for going towards the entrepreneurship path?
Recognize that there's the economic benefit. This should be the simple bit, right? If you look at the case study of, Skype, which is frequently in my head because we're investors in Skype.
Yeah. And it's very close. I mean,
and it's
close.
Well, exactly. So you've got a small country with one piece of technology, right, that gets acquired by, they're acquired a couple of times, but Microsoft, let's say 18 billion, whatever is in the second thing. Then you have the founders, so they scale to like 10,000 employees. Think about the ramifications of, you can tax a lot of more people, guys, whatever. You got a lot more employees, you got a lot more tax. That's just supporting one company that makes it. Then those founders go on to start another 10 unicorns.
So
Right?
this is how you would sell it to maybe the pub.
I talk about the government all the time. It's a really clear. So not only do they go on to found another $10 billion companies, taxed employees, all the benefits of that, they also start. A lot of the founding team starts venture capital funds that then go to start create Bolt, Pipe Drive, whatever. It's a ripple effect. That is the benefit of investing in entrepreneurship and innovation. Yeah.
Any other examples you might have?
Baidu, same thing. They got the Chinese mafia, the Baidu. They call it, the PayPal mafia. They call it the Baidu mafia in China.
Yeah.
Same thing. You have one company that becomes billion, produces a few billionaires. Founders naturally are restless. They want to start new companies. They want to start venture funds to give back to their own community. Right? It happens all the time. Yeah. Same with the PayPal one. Yeah.
There is one thing that concerns me a bit about, we managed to, it's hard, but let's say we'll manage to create this communities also in Europe, Eastern Europe, having more startups, more successful startups growing from these ecosystems. But what you see even in Western Europe is almost all of the big, Spotify, everyone, then went to the US and gets
Why? Because they don't have the support they need locally. Yeah, it's
what's the support that you're referring to?
Most of the time cash,
capital,
isn't it? Yeah, and it's we've got a growth rate that's on track to be 1 million users in a month. You can try and negotiate at a valuation that's 10 times less than what I'm going to get over here. Why would I do that? So you got to play ball a bit more, right? Or maybe it's a tax advantage, whatever, right? I think it's maybe sometimes it's just the market, right? I want to just get if I get the US, but I think a lot of times it's the terms will be more favorable.
Yeah, but there are even startups that their main focus, at least at that point, was Europe, and still they went to US.
I guess at some point they want to go to they need this cash, right? So it's if you're the belief in the vision or the bullshit around the finance guys versus venture capitalists that know what they're doing. You don't want to hear if I'm I got a problem. My problem is that I'm too successful right now to hear that you need to go back and work on your fucking 5-year spreadsheet. Just give me the cash and fuck off. Yes, I don't know. We're I think it's market, but I think it's also opportunity. Yeah, but if you could provide it here, then you don't have to leave. But either way, it doesn't matter. I as I said,
that was my follow-up question. Should be this something that at this point should concern us that much.
No, because I think inherently the founders still want to give back to their local market. That's what I've seen. Yeah. We hear it from government all the time. Those that get it. Like, it doesn't matter. Send them to Silicon Valley. Yeah. We work governments all around the world, super progressive. They get it. The founder is 9 times out of 10 times, if they get some cash, they're going to take it home.
And just if you also take into consideration all the economical impact that a company like that does within that community. I mean, I know shops being open, coffee shops, restaurants, all the economic like flourishing around that success. It's huge.
Absolutely. So I think for most part we handle a lot of startups, governments that send their startups to Silicon Valley, and we educate them and run them through programs, put them in front of venture capitalists. If they're lucky, they get a check, and that becomes the catalyst for round 2, round 3, whatever, or at least an opportunity. And if they usually they take that money home. At least with us, we don't care. We'll back founders wherever. We don't require them to set up a US entity. And if they do stay, they tend to, say Eastern European, Central European company, hire back home. So there's nothing lost. So that's a shortcut for government. Send them to us, Silicon Valley. Could be a quick way to fast track the unicorn bit. Yeah.
Any last thoughts for the founders, ecosystem builders in Eastern Europe or within this region? Yeah.
I mean, aside from the big vision, all that kind of stuff, I think get as much advice as you can. Try not to let it steer you too far from your vision.
And belief.
Right? Yeah, but just understand that everyone's going to have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Just take what you think you should. And that's particularly hard when people say that you can't do it, that you are hoping to say you can do it, right? And maybe they're right. Sometimes they're just trying to give you a bit of angle, but like if it's not making you better, it's not getting you where you're at, then play the game the way you want. If you fail, start again.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming all the way from Melbourne and spending a couple of days with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been amazing.
Hopefully we'll get not just, I don't know.
No, we're going to set up shop.
Nice.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.